Thank you all for coming today. It's really good to see folks here, and I think this is a really cool event. Thanks to the Wildfire Resiliency Training Center and to Luna for hosting us. And there's a lot of good folks with tables and a lot of good material out there. So please fill your book bag or your satchel with all the good information out there. I just want to make a quick, acknowledgement that, this community has experienced traumatic and catastrophic wildfire, and that's no secret. And I think that trauma is still being felt today in a lot of different kinds of ways. And so I just want to acknowledge that before I'm moving forward here, because what I'd like to talk about today is about defensible space and the science behind defensible space, just a little bit of that, and then about a new program called the Wildfire Prepared Homes program that is rolling out in New Mexico right now, which is really trying to square the circle of home insurance and our wildfire issues that we have. So first, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is George Ducker. I'm the Prevention and Communications Manager for New Mexico Forestry Division. And what that means basically is that I do a lot of work in comms, and I do a lot of work with the fire notifications that we put out if there is a fire impacting values at risk on state and private land. I am writing those releases and getting that stuff up on social media so that folks can understand where the fire is, who it's impacting, working with county officials to help with evacuations, and just getting that information out. So that's my primary priority. And then the secondary is obviously doing outreach events such as this and trying to impart a little bit of what people far smarter than me have done to kind of talk about fire defense and preparation and prevention. Another thing about the agency that I work for, the Forestry Division used to be called New Mexico State Forestry, and at some point they decided to change the name. But we are still State Forestry, and our primary customer or our primary objective is the private landowner. So it's y'all. We love public land, but public land is not necessarily our foremost concern. Our foremost concern is your land, your yards, your homes, and the trees that are on your property. So yeah, I'm gonna jump in here, and here we go. So we work on 43 million acres of state and private land in New Mexico, and we have been around since 1957. And our primary objectives as a division, land management and fire suppression. So that's that. So I'm going to take you back to the late 1990s. This is an experimental forest in the Northwest Territories, and I'm sorry, that's the best image I could find. There are others, but that's the best I could find. So this is basically a plot of trees, and they cut these areas out to have space with no vegetation, and then you can see there's huge swaths of forested area. And the idea was that the Forest Service and a guy named Cohen, they went up there to do some experiments to try and figure out how homes burn when they burn in wildfires. So they would set these pieces of land on fire and set up little structures like in different spaces, 30 feet, 60 feet, 90 feet from that wall of vegetation. You can see to the left that they are in and set that out fire. So they set these forests on fire and then did studies to see how embers and how radiant heat actually impacted structures. And so what they learned was something pretty interesting. What they learned was that the primary culprit for home ignition was embers or firebrands. It was not a wave of flame that just crashed over a home. It was actually tiny pieces of vegetation getting carried by the wind. And let's see what this next slide is. Yeah, so this is what came out of these experiments. And and another 20 years of experiments is that there are basically 3 pathways to structure ignition. One is, I'll start on the right and work back. The first is radiant heat. So radiant heat basically means that your structure is within 30 to 50 feet of another structure that's burning. Direct flame contact, that basically means that if you have grasses or shrubs or continuous fuel up to the walls of your home, that would also cause it to burn. And then the third, which is the one we're going to focus on today, is embers. And embers were found to be the leading cause of why homes burn. And if you look at this, it kind of shows, you can see you have vegetational fire and on the side by wall. And what you're talking about is like potential for combustibility of that vegetation. And then it basically carries fire from the ground or from the air that lands there. It carries it up the wall. And then it can make that wall combust, and then it catches the home on fire. So let's see. So this is an image of an ember shower or a fire burn shower. And as you can see, this is a pretty severe case. But embers, when you are in a wind-driven catastrophic fire event, you have a lot of embers moving. And they can be lofted miles ahead of the fire front. There's a lot of different numbers that people throw around. Some people say that they can move up to a mile. But then more recent studies have shown that they can be lofted up to 7 miles ahead of the fire front. So again, all of this is to say that what you're looking to protect from is not the fire front, not the flaming front, but it's these wind-driven embers.
Yeah.
Oops. So, and you can see here. So this is IBHS, which is the Insurance Institute of Business and Home Safety. It's a long set of words, and it's a funny acronym, but they are basically an insurance industry-funded research facility. And their goal is to help keep your home from burning, because insurers don't want your home to burn any more than you do. So they do these experiments in this facility in South Carolina where they basically build a home, they build one side of the home with vegetation against it, and they build another side without vegetation against it, and they throw embers against it with these giant ember generator, and they did studies. And the studies basically bore out what I've already been telling you, which is that ember transmission to vegetation is what we're trying to defend against. The other idea that I perhaps want to disabuse folks of is the idea of the miracle home. You look at a picture of a landscape that has experienced fire, and several homes are gone, but one home is still standing. And people just say, oh, well, that home survived by a miracle. And it wasn't a miracle, it was just that home did not have that continuity of fuels up to the side of the home. Their roofs were clear of vegetation, their roofs were clear of anything that could combust. So that's one idea of it. As you can see, it says embers accumulate at the base of the walls and within 5 feet. So this is another image of the crazy ember generator, and then of a home with, looks like wood siding, combusting because there was vegetation in front of it. What they also have done is talk about building materials. And you can see on the left is a field observation of a vent to a house. And on the right, it's showing in a lab what is happening to vents of a house during an ember wash fire event. So you can see embers are coming in through that vent, and they are collecting in the attic space. And of course, those embers are hot. And if you have things in the attic, like we all do, those things will catch on fire. And you can see to the left that this is a field observation of a vent where embers came in, started an ignition, and burned the structure.
Okay.
So this is ways to think about defensible space and hardening. It's kind of a lot to think about when you first start, but they've broken it down into 3 zones and the home itself. So you start thinking about your home, and we'll talk about that in a second, but the 0 to 5 foot zone is the most important zone around your home. That is the priority. And you just don't want anything there that can be combustible. Then if you're moving out to the 5 to 30 foot zone, you can have, we're talking about having vegetation, but having thinned areas between that vegetation, keeping the grass mowed if you have grass, and then moving from 30 to 100 feet, it's just about making sure that trees are limbed up so that when fire comes through, it's burning on the ground, but not catching and spreading into the tops of those trees. This is a design or a graphic that's probably familiar to a few of you in fire-wise. And so this is an example, just to help contextualize all of this, of a before and after of this home, where before they have, you can see there's a lot of trees there, they're pretty close together. And after, what they've done is they've moved, it looks like about 50% of those trees in the front. And you also have a slope here, which is fascinating, because fire travels uphill faster, and so they wanted to remove those trees to help keep the fire from having fuel closer to the home. So moving into this new program. This is the IBHS Wildfire Prepared Program. And we were the 4th state, but now it looks like there's many, many states that this is available in, which is pretty cool. IBHS, again, the same people who were setting the test homes on fire, have created this program to basically try and help homeowners maintain their insurance, right? Insurance is a big word, and it has a lot to it. But this program is a way to try and play ball with the insurance industry. They've done all this research, right? They have all these steps and these standards that they want people to adhere to. And I think it makes good sense. So the idea of the program is that you sign up, you do mitigation around your property. And these are, so this is, let me back up. So this is all of the things that IBHS is looking for a homeowner to have done. And it basically starts on the left with the roof, and then the building features, which is like vents and things that we talked about, and then the 0 to 5 area around the home, and then moving outside the home. But the idea is that if you, as a homeowner, can prove that you've taken these steps to mitigate your home, that you will then get a certificate. And you can share that certificate with your insurance provider. And the goal is that that certificate will help you keep and maintain your insurance. I say the goal is because, unfortunately, even though this is a program funded and sponsored by the insurance industry, they are not making guarantees. But as we all know, insurance is a really tricky topic, and it's kind of a constantly moving target. And for in my opinion, it makes sense to try and play ball with the insurance industry, do the standards that they want to see done, give them that certificate, and then say, here it is. Please don't trot me. So it's not a silver bullet, but it is something that I think is better. It's a better method than we've had before. Let's see. Also roofs. Something that they want to talk about is roofing material. A roof is also one of the most important parts of fire defense for your home. And here in New Mexico, obviously, we have a lot of flat roof structures. We don't all get to have a metal roof. But what's great is that IBHS has put out this single-ply roof membrane sheet, technical sheet. And what it says basically is that you can have a Class A roof based on how that roof was constructed. It doesn't necessarily have to be a metal roof. But you basically, as a homeowner, have to go back, figure out the different materials that were in your roof. Like if the contractor gave you the list of things that were up there, you could consult those and see if they square with this technical document. Oh, wow. All right. That's cool, too. So I'm showing you some pieces of paper on a screen. These pieces of paper are available at our table and at the Office of the Superintendent of Insurance's table as well. And we're going to be happy to talk to you guys more about this afterwards if you want to come up and learn more about the program. But basically, this is just the step-by-step. You prep your home with a how-to checklist, and that checklist is available. It looks like this. It's like 6 pages. It's fairly in-depth. Then you take some photos of your property, you submit them, and you go to wildfireprepared.org. That's like the most important thing to take away, is that even though the state of New Mexico is supporting this program, you have to go to wildfireprepared.org, which is a IBHS website to apply. An assessor comes out to your house and takes a look to see if you've done what you said you've done. They take photos, and the assessors will be actually members of the Office of the Superintendent of Insurance and some of our State Fire Marshal's Office officials. And because those officials are coming from the state, homeowners are getting a discount right now. So this program is $125 to sign up for normally. Right now in New Mexico, it's $25. So there's really no reason not to give it a shot if you're interested in like hardening your home, or maybe your home's already hardened and you just want to get a certificate of designation to give to your insurance company. So they come out, they do their evaluation, and then they send their information back to IBHS. They give you your certificate, your designation, and then you get a 1-year and a 2-year review where they come out and check again to make sure that you didn't suddenly just transport a tree next to your home. And then in 3 years, it's good for 3 years. And then after 3 years, I think the process begins again. So yeah, this just really breaks it down. $25 certification fee. This is fascinating too. So the FAIR plan. How many people know what the FAIR plan is in New Mexico? All right. The FAIR plan is the state's insurance of last resort. And if you cannot get insurance, I believe if you've been denied more than 3 times, you can apply for the FAIR plan, where the state will give you your insurance. But that insurance is not as good as private market insurance. So the goal is to get folks off the FAIR plan and back into the regular market. So to do that, if you are a FAIR plan customer, you are going to be entitled to some grant funds to help you help support roof retrofits, vent retrofits, things like that. But again, that's only available to FAIR plan customers. For the moment, folks who are not on it just have to pay the $25. And if there is retrofit work that needs to be done, you will have to foot that bill. But again, it's all about defending your home, right? So item 3 here is that SB 33, which was a bill that was passed last year, the Wildfire Prepared Act, basically says that we at the Forestry Division and at the state and at the Office of Superintendent of Insurance, we think highly enough of these standards and of this program that we adopted them. And so these are the standards that we want to see when we go out and look at homes. And lastly, OSI is doing some communication efforts around this topic. All right. Well, I have been told that my time is up, and I've gone a little long. If anybody has any questions, I will be at a table up there. OSI is 2 tables next to us, and I'm happy to talk to you more about this. All right. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming.
As usual, we're looking for the presentation.